Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to yet another episode of the Halal Food Podcast. Today we have another August guest with us, and I'm going to invite our sister to introduce herself so that we'll start the podcast. Yeah, Sister Shay.
Walaikum salam. Walaikum salam. Lovely to be here. Thank you very much. So my name is Shaheena Rasool. I'm the founder of Halal Dining Group, which comprises of a number of different food-related businesses, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail as we talk. I've come from a corporate business change and business and IT change background. Came into the food industry about 8-9 years ago, and that's kind of where my passion's been actually since quite a young age. So it was about time I did something within the food industry. And so I've kind of been working actively, like I said, about 8 or so years within the food industry. As a family, we've been doing something or another within it for about 10 years now, no, 12 years. So yeah.
So before we even go to discuss some of the ventures you are involved in, what motivated you to move from corporate to food?
So it kind of started off more with a change of life. I wanted to change what I was doing. Like, alhamdulillah, I had a good career. I was doing what I wanted to do as well. Actually, I was lucky enough to kind of end up on the career path of what I wanted to do. But I think there was always an element of wanting to do something of my own for a start. It got to a point where I was like, okay, it's time to kind of do something different, step away from the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Although obviously being a business owner ends up becoming more 9 to 9, if not more. But it was kind of stepping away from that. And then food, as I said, I think since most probably late teens, I've always wanted to do something with food. So in 2018, when I decided to kind of make that shift, there was an idea I had a couple of years before around wanting to do sort of ready-to-eat meals.
Yeah.
So then when I kind of started exploring again business ideas, I had a look, and in 2018, it was still very limited. So I thought, okay, that's where I'm going to start. So that's where I started and built. So started with a frozen ready meals business, which I launched in 2019.
Okay. That's very good to hear. So now you've mentioned ready-to-eat meals. We know the Muslim population is becoming, the younger ones are more professional. They've got busy lifestyles. You just mentioned 9 to 5. Many people are working 9 to 5, and others who are operating their own businesses even work more than that. Do you think there is room in the ready-to-eat market? Or where do you see opportunities in the halal market? Is it ready to eat or other areas?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of opportunities in the halal market. As consumers, we're changing.
Yeah.
Our behaviors are changing. Sort of our wants and desires are also changing. Now, it's quite interesting because when I first launched in 2019, and I was at one of the sort of halal food shows, at that time, I was having conversations where people were asking me like the concept and how does it work and what do you mean I just heat it up? Whereas after COVID, when I did do a food show after that, the conversation had completely changed. There was a better understanding. There was actually, oh yes, we want that because sort of life is busy. I think what had happened was, even though in COVID we were at home and we were cooking, and people realized how busy life was and how badly they were eating, and this is what drove me to start it, because especially if you're living in a big city, you're in the office 9 to 5, but you're actually leaving the house from 7 o'clock and not reaching till 7 o'clock. And then you put in sort of, if you're on your own or you're like flatmates or like young family, then you're just reaching for the most convenient food. So I definitely see there is scope. I think there definitely is scope. I think there's actually scope across the entire board for halal food. I do feel as now we've kind of getting to the point where the consumers are also wanting quality and taste.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was very much around sort of things that were just maybe cheaper, or
Absolutely.
they didn't know anything different. So yeah, let's just pick up what we have available.
You have hit the nail on the head, because previously, or if you look at our forefathers who settled here, or first generation Muslims, they were focused on price, let's be honest. But people now, many younger Muslims have now got higher disposable income, so they're looking for high welfare, high quality, and all that. So my next question will be to for you to explain what Food Souq is, because we normally hear about souks in the Middle East. What do you mean by Food Souq as one of
Okay,
your
so
companies?
yeah, so that's sort of my latest project.
Okay.
What I found naturally, sort of over the years, even though I've always been a consumer of halal food, I very much have been a little bit more of the restaurant, sort of going out to eat. So not so much about what you would buy and have at home, but actually what I found then once I did come into the industry,
Yeah.
alongside me, there was a lot of Muslims or other brands that were bringing products to the market that were halal focused, that were not just their seafood,
Okay.
um, and it was quality. And actually, it kind of just got me going that why are these food items not readily available? I've happened to come across them because I'm in that industry. I'm searching for it. I'm going to shows, all of this.
Mhm.
But actually, as a consumer, I would very rarely come across this.
Yeah.
Um, so that led me to this idea of wanting to kind of the challenges I've had, the challenges, my peers have had in the last few years,
Yeah.
to create something for that space. And Food Souq came up, and it's a marketplace. So
Mhm.
traditionally, yes, souk is very much that Arabic term,
Yeah.
but ultimately what it means is talking about a marketplace.
Yeah.
So actually, let's all come together as traders
Mhm.
for the consumers to be able to come and get the best of the best.
Yeah.
So the idea very much is to create this online space, which A, supports the brands to reach the consumer, but then as a consumer, it's giving them access and it's giving them sort of that variety.
Yeah.
And then the beauty of it all is actually everything's going to be halal suitable.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
the part of what I'll be doing, part of what Food Souq team will be doing, is ensuring everything that's actually listed on the website has
Yeah.
been vetted for their
Yeah.
halal status.
Mhm.
So as a Muslim, you go on, you can add anything to your basket, and you don't need to worry about checking ingredients like you do when you're having to go. So I go to like farm shops, and I'm having to go through when I'm going through. I was, oh, that looks nice.
Yeah.
Turn it around, you look through. Oh, okay,
No
it's
halal. Yeah.
disappointing. Like you go through 10 items before you
Uh,
actually even find one.
uh,
So yeah, so it's kind of it's giving that support to the businesses,
yeah.
and actually ultimately growing our halal food industry. And
Yeah.
then as a consumer, giving them sort of access and ease.
Yeah. So what you've just said makes a lot of sense from halal perspective, because as a consumer, if you go into a website and you are shopping, you want to make sure whatever you taking or you picking is halal. So many halal consumers will be interested in what you're saying, and even many businesses will be interested in what you're saying about the souk. How can they contact you to get access to the souk? Do you have a website, or do they have to contact you directly?
Yeah, we have the website, so it's foodsouq.co.uk. So it's souk actually with a Q.
Yeah.
So you can go online, you can drop me a message there, or you can even just email me at hello@foodsouq.co.uk. For businesses,
Yeah.
feel free to drop me a message there, connect with me on LinkedIn. So I'm very much actively looking to talk to businesses and see where I can support them, and also obviously get them on board onto the marketplace.
Yeah. So, Sister Shahina, I have met you in several food shows in the UK and around the world, in Saudi, in Dubai, and other places. Do you think, well, if a business is listening to us and considering or attending these shows, do you think there is value in attending food shows?
There is, very much so. I think there's a lot of value for both trade as well as the consumer shows.
Yeah.
What I would say is, first of all, go and visit.
Yeah.
Like for the consumer show, go and visit them first,
Mhm.
because you understand your business
Yeah.
and you'll be able to understand whether it fits or not, or go and speak to sort of an experienced person. So you're more than welcome to come and speak to me, and I can kind of talk you through sort of that. I think from a trade show point of view, again, they're definitely worthwhile,
Yeah.
but you got to be very selective about where you go.
Yeah.
I've I've actually exhibited at a couple of trade shows as well as consumer shows,
Mhm.
and it's sort of I've learned from that. It's a very expensive lesson, but I've learned from that because there are some trade shows which would work well for us
Uh,
being halal focused, And then there's some which wouldn't. So it comes down to, and I think you've got to choose the right time in your business as well, and do a little bit of strategizing behind it before you go. But yeah, it's definitely worthwhile. I think
Okay.
you connect with, you connect with a lot more people than you would. And even if it's not directly, indirectly, you don't know where those contacts take you.
Yeah. So I've also noticed that you are associated with Halal Dining Club. Do you use Food Souq and Halal Dining Club interchangeably, or are they separate businesses?
So basically, I've got the halal dining group, which comprises of the ready meals. It's got we have a frozen savories business. We do some consultancy work, and we've got the marketplace. The
Mhm.
halal dining sort of club collective is around, it kind of wraps around the food souk and the marketplace and the consultancy.
Okay.
So again, what I found is there's I feel like there's a bit of a lack of community in
Mm.
the food industry, the halal food industry, especially for the new players.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of the older, sort of very established businesses. They all kind of know one another, perfect. But actually, there's this whole host of new businesses and whole host of food owners that have come up, food business owners that have come up, and they don't come from a family business.
Yeah.
They've kind of started from scratch. So it's really very much kind of trying to create that collective for us to work with one another, to support one another.
Yeah.
And what I'm kind of wanting to do is have Food Souq as a center, and then have this ecosystem, which is part of, that's where the collective kind of comes into place. And also kind of does the consultancy support and all of this.
Yeah. If you look at the halal sector around the world, we know it's growing and there is need for proper regulation of the halal market. We've already seen regulation in some Muslim countries like Malaysia, Saudi, and other places, and even in New Zealand and Australia, where there is some level of government involvement and in trying to regulate the market. We don't have that in the UK. What would be your advice to the government, or what do you think the government should do to regulate or improve or add value to the halal sector in the UK?
I think they should be definitely a lot more involved than what they are at the moment. We are a significant player as a consumer and also as businesses. We're a very, very significant player in the economy of the UK.
Mhm.
Also from an export point of view, actually, especially now, like it's a big part of what the UK economy needs is that export. So the government does need to be involved. I think we've got a responsibility as Muslims and players within the halal industry to kind of work with the government, but
Yeah.
ultimately we do need them to come to the table as well.
Mhm.
What that looks like,
Yeah.
I don't have a definitive view at the moment, but definitely some controls, some regulations, sort of some overarching body
Yeah.
to build the halal economy, build the halal food industry here and make it, like the fact that New Zealand and Australia can do it,
Yeah.
and they're not Muslim countries. Like people would go Malaysia, Singapore, or Malaysia and Saudi and Dubai, then they're Muslim countries. Okay, fine, but Australia and New Zealand have been able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've had Muslim migrants in UK possibly a lot longer than what those countries have had. So we should definitely be able to do it here in the UK
Absolutely.
as well.
Absolutely. So also, if you look at data from the Office for National Statistics, the population of Muslims continue to grow. And if you look at consumption of food, halal food continue to grow. How do you see, what's your projection of the halal market in, say, the next 10 years? Do you think it's going to stagnate or it's going to grow even further?
It's going to grow even further. Um, for just as anecdotal sort of inputs, and I have a lot of non-Muslim friends who also eat halal food,
Yeah.
who they'll go out and search for halal butchers actually, and they have done for many decades, but also going out to eat. Majority, even of the non-Muslims, they're happy with that. The fact that we're growing as a community here as well also means it's not going to stagnate.
Absolutely.
And what's happening is we're also growing as business owners, we're also growing as entrepreneurs. We're wanting to actually create and bring in halal versions of everything we're seeing that's not available. So there's still so much that's there to be built and so much there to kind of be kind of produced or made available. So I mean, I wouldn't be able to put a figure, but it's definitely going to grow for the consistently for 10 years, if not a lot longer.
Uh,
Also, the other thing is the world's become so much smaller.
yeah.
So there's that uh, sort of migration cycle as well. So it's not only just about the Muslim population growing here, it's also about the Muslim population that's coming into the UK.
Mhm.
And if you look at the stats across the world globally and the trajectory we've got of the Muslim population growth globally, even that should indicate how this is going to grow. So if it's going to grow globally, it's naturally going to grow nationally as well.
Yeah, yeah. So if you look at consumption of meat, again, several studies have shown that Muslims consume a lot of lamb and chicken, and we are seeing a growth in beef consumption. If I were to ask you a personal question, which species of meat is your favorite when you go for shopping? Is it chicken, lamb, beef, or what?
I think also be still 50-50 between lamb and chicken.
Okay.
I'm still very much partial to a nice lamb curry, a lamb roast, lamb chops, but very much like my chicken. So I would say 50-50. I do eat beef, but beef I think generally is something I have when I'm out rather than cooking it at home. I think, and maybe it's just it because beef is not something I think as South Asians we've always cooked with. But
That's a
I'm very
classic. That's
yeah, I'm very
it's a classic answer you've given me.
yeah. Yeah.
That's just what the research is showing. Many Muslims eat beef when they go out. They hardly cook it at home. Lamb and chicken are the main thing. Do you know why beef is not very popular within the Muslim population?
I think again, I think it's just because, like I said, I think culturally we haven't grown up eating beef. And I think also actually while growing up, if I think about it, beef was also not as accessible.
Yeah.
Um, I do feel like it's become more accessible in maybe the last 8 or so years. Um, so yeah, so I think actually it's more the cultural side, but then the fact that the accessibility wasn't here in the UK.
That's another important point which people listening to us, whether you are regulators, you are government, or you are a producer, halal beef in the UK is difficult. Well, it used to be difficult to get. Even now, it's relatively difficult to get because the majority of it is imported into the country, and we are trying to encourage domestic production. So your explanation is really good, and it's in line with all the findings that we've had in the past.
Yeah, and I think the younger population
Mhm.
actually is leaning more towards the beef as well, because actually even if you look at some of the fast food or some of the restaurants that are becoming more popular, it is the steaks, it is the pulled beef, the briskets. It's all of those kind of dishes now where that's what they are looking towards. Because when we're stepping away, as South Asians, they're stepping away from eating curry all the time. So there's definitely a need and a demand for a beef to be widely available. And hopefully that can also then help bring down the price a little bit as well, because naturally it's a premium product at the moment.
Yeah. So, in terms of chicken, you said you do consume some amount of chicken and some lamb as well. These products, do you cook them at home or you buy them from outside, from restaurants?
No, I generally would end up cooking at home.
Mm.
Naturally, sort of, it's gone down a little bit at the moment, but I used to be a bit more, like I said earlier, like go out to eat. So yeah, then again, it would be very much trying to find halal restaurants, and then it would be chicken and lamb. But yeah, it's generally if I'm having it at home which is most of the week, then it's buying it raw and then cooking it.
Okay. Also, data we hold suggests that the older generation continue to go to the independent or local butchers that are operated by Muslims for their meat, whilst the younger consumer is more likely to go to the supermarkets. How do you think supermarkets can encourage the older generation to start patronizing their products instead of just going to the corner shops?
That's going to be a challenge.
Yeah,
Um, no,
yeah,
I think uh, I guess that maybe it's a little bit more of a potentially a trust thing there.
yeah. Correct, correct. Yeah, that's it. That's a
Because
good
it's
point. Trust. Yeah,
yeah, and I think our sort of our older generation have been very used to going because they know the person behind the counter.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
But
Yeah,
then I think the reason why I feel like there's that change between sort of what our parents' generation have done and how they've shopped versus us is we're a much lazier generation. The coming generation is much lazy, even more lazier because actually what we want to do, we want to go to one shop and buy everything in one shop, you know?
yeah,
Whereas like in my household, and I have this conversation with my mom all the time, is like she will go to four different shops because
yeah,
she will go to the butcher, then she'll go to the Asian vegetarian vegetable store, and then she'll go to the supermarket, then she'll go one other place.
yeah,
And they'll do that because they're looking at price, as we've
yeah,
already said,
yeah,
they're very much, and naturally that was the age they've come and the challenges they've had to go through. But also I think it's the quantity
yeah.
because
Mhm.
again they cook for a lot more people than what our generation is cooking for.
Mhm.
So now they're so used to being able to go and buy, if we just take for example lentils, they're used to going and buying like kilo bag lentils, not 250-gram bag
Yeah,
lentils, which
yeah,
is what the supermarkets have.
yeah,
So I mean I think it's a multifaceted sort of issue with, or not even an issue, but the challenges of trying to get the older generation to come
yeah.
into the supermarket. Um, I think, yeah, maybe if there was a little bit more available, you need to look at sort of what they're shopping. Like I said, they like to go to the Asian vegetable store. If you have a little bit more of that available in the supermarket, maybe that would bring them through.
Mhm.
But I think from a butcher's counter, it's just a bit of a trust and a bit of an education piece, I think.
I like the trust issue because many of the older generation want to go to a shop, speak to the person, speak their own language, and they know if the person say it's halal, it's likely to be halal. But those in the supermarkets, look, they just employ anybody and anyone to come and have a look and to come and man the counter, which the person may not understand the halal rules in detail. Yeah, so it's a good point you've made there. The last question I've got for you, Shaheena, is I ended up in hospital last year, and when I requested for halal, well, I actually visited two hospitals last year. One hospital they understood halal very well. The other hospital they did not have a clue. They were asking me as a patient what halal was, so I tried to explain what the requirements were. Do you think you have a room in your souk to be able to support hospitals, sports stadia, and other places, or do they have to get their advice from elsewhere? If yes, where?
Yeah. So no, and that's what I do want to do with Food Souq. My sort of growth plans there, all that the plan around there is starting off as a consumer facing marketplace, but I very much want to bring that trade element. And
Yeah,
that trade element is not just within the Muslim community to trade with one another, but actually also for the non-Muslim community to be able to come and access sort of those halal options. Again, with that level of comfort, level of knowledge that it's coming from a halal source.
yeah.
Um, and I want to use the platform for that education piece as well. Because again, there's no reason why a lot of our products and a lot of our brands and we can't be openly halal in the wider industry.
Mm,
It's still, I'm one of very few in the room when I go to these food industry events
yeah,
where I'm talking about halal,
yeah,
and for quite a few years in the room, and it's like, what do you do? I do halal ready meals, and all they think of is it's Indian food, and that's it. They don't
yeah,
know anything beyond that, So it's
yeah, yeah,
there's definitely an education piece, and that's my plan. Really, very much is around that platform being there to not only educate but also encourage and give access to. In the meantime, there are other sort of means of kind of accessing the information. you've had a few of the guests on your podcast. Obviously, you yourself are like a great source of knowledge. But I think I feel like we have that responsibility
Absolutely.
to show the world what halal is, what the scope of halal is, what the potential of halal is, and then educate them and then give them access. Let's not just say to them, oh, give halal food, but actually give access to where do we go and get the halal food. At least we know we're providing a level of assurance that what's going out, like in that example, what's going out to a patient in the hospital, can be like, actually we can sort of say we know it is halal because they've come via one of our trusted channels to find that food.
Yeah. Look, thank you very much, Sister Shaheena. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on this podcast. Once again, I wanted you to repeat the website again if somebody wants to contact you, if somebody wants to access your services. Can you please repeat the website or the email where they can contact you, please?
Yes, thank you. So it's Food Souq with a Q, and then .co.uk. And email is hello@foodsouq.co.uk.
All right. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you. Inshallah, we may welcome you back again if we have more questions.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.